Oh my god, fellas, it's me again, good old Tom, and it's been well over a year since my last video, but life hits you hard, shish happens, and well, at least we're here, at least I got something. Now for today, we got ourselves a small little piece of media. It's only gonna be a small, maybe 10-minute video, as you can tell from the bottom. I sure hope it's 10 minutes. But today we're going to be taking a look at a game from Spain known as Blasphemous, and I really dig this game. I think it's pretty sweet. So you're sitting right here, right to yourself, and you're wondering, what is even this game? I can't even describe it. And really, to be honest, the only way I can describe Blasphemous is you take Spanish Catholicism rituals and aesthetics, then you mix it with Souls-like and other Metroidvania games with their exploration and their progression style, and you make it a pixel adventure, and there you have it. You got yourself a genuine Blasphemous. But to be real, Blasphemous is developed by Spanish developers known as The Game Kitchen that previously have done The Last Door, an adventure game with a similar pixelated aesthetic. Blasphemous is especially interesting because it takes such a neat and underrepresented aesthetic such as Spanish and a specifically civilian, not a civilian like, oh my god, you know, that guy you see out in the streets, no, Sevillano from Seville, and taking those Catholic traditions and ramping them up to a ridiculous level, almost like how Dark Souls does, by creating a world that's made up entirely of Catholic Bible speak, such as Our Lady of the Charred Visage and Crisanta of the Rapt Agony and Las Tres Anguistas. Now I'm gonna brush over the aesthetics of Blasphemous over to the side for a second. Now we're gonna take a look at this story for this game because it's kinda whack. In Blasphemous, you play the role of the Penitent One, a man brought back to life by the miracle to reach the cradle of affliction and end the curse that has been causing pain to the realm of Custodia for hundreds of years. And that's pretty much it for the Penitent One, since the character doesn't really speak for the entirety of the damn game due to the vow of silence that everyone within his order, known as the Order of the Silent Sorrow, has to take. From there on, you're going to meet a multitude of people, ranging from the bosses that you're going to fight to your average NPC that have been afflicted by the miracle in different ways, causing some to go on a penitent pilgrimage, or others to deform into grotesque creatures that you must defeat in order to reach the higher lands and fulfill your holy quest. The world of Custodia is similar in a lot of aspects to the Souls games from Software, in that the setting is an ancient land that has been on the bad end of societal decay for an untold amount of years, culminating in the loss of the population and the rise of afflictions of the miracle that walked the land to stop the Penitent One on his quest. The setting also shares a lot of similarities with Bloodborne, in which both societies took to a religious order to the extreme and caused not just irreparable damage to the world, but also brought about the creation of entities well beyond human comprehension. Difference being that instead of the sort of Victorian-esque aesthetic that Bloodborne goes for, we have everything basically changed into a Spanish Renaissance. Yeah, that's all well and good, but you're probably wondering to yourself, how does the damn game play? And it's like, well, for the most part, it's pretty decent. Unlike a lot of other Metroidvania or Souls-like adventure RPGs, the Penitent One only has one sword, and that's by the name of Mea Culpa, which if you live in the Hispanosphere, you probably know it as My Guilt or My Fault. It is through Mea Culpa that the Penitent One smites all the foes in his path, and over the course of the game, you'll find new ways to develop the sword into a more powerful and diverse weapon through leveling it up at shrines devoted to the Holy Blade. There's also a variety of powers that you can unleash in combat known as prayers that will use up some of your stamina bar to do either a heavy blast or destroy multiple foes at once. But apart from smiting those that are afflicted by the miracle, you're really going to be spending the majority of your time traversing through the various parts of Custodia and completing really obscure quests in order to get through a variety of different endings. And so to get to these objectives, we gotta do some platforming, and we arrive to ourselves probably the stinkiest part of this damn game, and it's some no good platforming. Yeah, the weakest aspect of Blasphemous, fellas, on my end is the fact that there's a lot of platforming and the game really isn't quite there yet for doing some of the precise platforming. And I mean, for the most part, it isn't too bad, but damn, there's quite a few jumps that the game expects you to do that can be frustrating, and it's compounded when it's not about player skill, but how well the game was programmed to do these jumps. Of course, there's nothing saying that down the road this can't get fixed in a sequel if they ever intend on doing one, and P.S. I really hope that they do, but for now the game also has some other aspects that I find to be not quite up to snuff. The combat, for example, is not the most exciting out there. It's not quite as crisp and fluid as it should be for the type of game that Blasphemous wants to be. Some parts of the combat as well, like the prayers, I barely used because from what little I found, you get most out of the damn powers. I thought it would probably just be better to attack things directly with mea culpa. So you may be wondering to yourself like, dang, Tom hates this game, why is it even on here? And really, the reason I kind of find this game interesting, it's really a lot of its aesthetic and it's got some cool things going for it. Fellas, if you didn't already know, I'm a huge history buff, and that isn't just limited to World War I and World War II in Rome like a lot of other people who call themselves history buffs do. I'm interested in all of it, and I'd love to learn about history no matter where it's from. And one of my sides of my family is predominantly Hispanic and Italian, so I love learning about the history of the many great states of the Latino sphere, both from the ancient days in antiquity to more modern times. And a slice of history that's interesting to learn about is the period of the Spanish Inquisition and, well, Spain, and all the messed up but fascinating rituals, rules, and mayhem that people had to go through in this period just to persist and not get whacked by the Pope police. The Game Kitchen must have thought that period of Spain must have been particularly interesting and chose to derive the aesthetics of that era into Blasphemous, and it's pretty fitting for the company to do that because they take their calling and they live from Seville in Spain. What I've read, they've used paintings from the period to pinpoint the aesthetics and the emotion for Blasphemous, and the most prominent of the paintings is A Procession of Flagellants by Francisco de Goya that shows the processions of repentant men with a San Benito, which is like a garment to show that you're repentant, and a capirote, which is a hat that the Franciscans use to this day in Seville for their rituals during Holy Week, but most people probably see it as a KKK hood. The aesthetics of that painting and the central themes of cruelty, brutality, and guilt is centrally woven into the very character of the penitent one, which is one that can be seen with a metal capirote with thorns surrounding it, and a San Benito over his gothic-looking armor. So overall, to kind of cut this a little bit short, the lengths that the Game Kitchen went to incorporate such a fascinating part of Spanish history is a big plus in my book, and it makes Blasphemous a game that is worth looking into. Sure, it might not be the most polished game out there, it's no 10 out of 10, but I would love to see a sequel from these fellas. And I would also love to see the Game Kitchen to go on and make more content like this with their unique Sevillian perspective on things. And well fellas, I didn't lie. Video's pretty much done. I don't really have too much to talk about this game, but first of all, you can find it on most modern things. You can find it on, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and of course PC if you're one of us fellas. And it's worth going through. I think it's a fascinating game that uses a fascinating aesthetic that most people don't really know or care about. And just because of that, I'm gonna give this game a nice, solid 7 out of 10. If you have the money out there to spare, these fellas absolutely 100% need this money. It would be great, especially during these trying times, and go out there and grab yourselves a nice copy of Blasphemous. Well, fellas, I didn't lie. We are here, of course, at the end of the video, and I gotta say, you know what? Thanks for even coming around and taking a look. It was pretty short, but it's nice to be back, damn it. I have finally these weird little camera things, and this camera, and these lights, and a whole production thing going on, so hopefully next video won't take too long, especially if I just leave them up. So, with that being said, this is your good old pal Tom, and we'll see you next time.